Mr. Chairman, the Trump administration's handling of the Jeffrey Epstein case is baffling. It's frustrating the American people, and it's exacerbating the mistrust in the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. In February, Attorney General Bondi, 17 days into the job, said in a Fox News interview that the Epstein client list was, quote, sitting on my desk right now to review, end of quote. The White House then staged a major media release of Epstein-related files on February 27th, including preparing binders for conservative influencers and commentators. However, the files released were largely already publicly available. There was nothing new. After intense blowback, Attorney General Bondi went back to Fox News, the mothership, and claimed that a whistleblower, quote, assured her there were more files, and that, quote, New York, Southern District of New York, was sitting on thousands of pages of documents. And she promised on Fox, and I quote, we will get everything, and the country will see, quote, the full Epstein files. These are quotes from Attorney General Bondi voluntarily appearing on Fox News to explain the situation. For the next 4 months, the Department of Justice and the FBI were silent. What happened during that period? Well, we received information that Attorney General Bondi pressured the FBI to assign, now get this, approximately 1,000 agents in its Information Management Division and hundreds of additional agents from the New York field office to work 24-hour shifts to review and produce more documents on Epstein on an arbitrarily short deadline. These officials were told to, quote, flag any records in which President Trump was mentioned. But after this flurry of activity using tens of thousands of personnel hours in March, it took DOJ and FBI 3 additional months to produce no new documents, but rather an unsigned memorandum on July 7th finding that, quote, this systemic review revealed no incriminating client list. Naturally, after all of the public promises Attorney General Bondi has made, the public is really suspicious of her finding. This suspicion has been exacerbated by public reporting that FBI Director Patel and FBI Deputy Director Bongino disagree with Attorney General Bondi's handling of this matter. Public mistrust has been fed by other claims in the July 7th memorandum. This memorandum included links to surveillance video footage from outside Epstein's cell in the hours leading up to his death. The July 7th memorandum describes one of the videos released as full, raw footage, yet experts who've analyzed it concluded the video was likely modified. The Trump administration has essentially created a new controversy rather than solving one. President Trump is not helping matters at all. Despite his administration continuing making promises about the transparency on Jeffrey Epstein and claims about the existence of records that have not been produced, he is currently telling the country the president is saying this is all, quote, a scam, close quote. Yesterday, President Trump posted on his personal social media site, and I quote, my past supporters have bought into this BS hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson, and they probably never will. That's from the president's personal social media. This is the president talking about his own constituents who are concerned about claims his own campaign surrogates and administration have continually raised. President Trump and Attorney General Bondi are directly responsible for all this confusion and mistrust, and they need to be fully transparent, and they should release all of the documents for the public to review as quickly as possible. On another subject, I want to speak on the nomination of Emil Bovee, who should not be seriously considered by the Senate for a lifetime appointment to the federal bench. Lifetime. He led this administration's embarrassing efforts to strike a corrupt bargain with New York City Mayor Eric Adams, and he has been trailed by a history of complaints, long predating his affiliation with President Trump, about his temperament, his poor judgment, and lack of candor before the court. Think of it. We're talking about a judge for life. Attorney General Bondi conveniently did not announce her plan to keep the Epstein files hidden until shortly after our opportunity to question Mr. Bovee under oath about his involvement in this issue had passed. Given his role as Principal Deputy Associate Attorney General, it's hard to believe he wasn't involved in the Epstein cover-up. Senator Booker and I sent him follow-up questions to give him a chance to clear this up. Mr. Bovee refused to respond, but that's not the only issue that's grown more pressing in recent days. Erez Ravini, a career Justice Department attorney who defended the first administration's immigration policies, filed a whistleblower complaint with my office ahead of Mr. Bovee's hearing. The complaint recounted that Mr. Bovee suggested Department of Justice might need to say, quote, F you to federal courts that issued orders that the administration opposed. Remarkably, Mr. Bovee couldn't deny delivering this message. He simply said in questions that Senator Schiff and I propounded to him that he did not recall whether he had used that kind of explicit language. So I asked Mr. Ravini whether he could substantiate his claims. In response, Ravini provided text messages, email exchanges, and other documents corroborating his allegations that Mr. Bovee had waxed poetic about violating court orders and spearheaded efforts to defy court orders and mislead federal courts. Mr. Chairman, despite your opening statement, this gentleman, this whistleblower, Mr. Ravini, has volunteered to appear under oath before this committee. We asked you to hold his hearing on this Mr. Bovee until that opportunity was taken, and you decided not to. I think that's a mistake. If you question the veracity of Mr. Ravini, he's ready to stand before you, raise his right hand, take an oath, and testify under oath. What more can you ask about credibility than that? And the Republicans refuse to even consider him. His attempts to account for actions have ranged from absurd to nonsensical. This is Mr. Bovee. But one thing is clear. He has repeatedly excused the conduct of those violent January 6 criminals. Mr. Bovee was the ringleader in an effort to punish federal prosecutors for putting January 6 offenders behind bars. I have this memo ordering their termination right here. Understand what we're talking about. You're a member of the Department of Justice staff. You're a prosecuting attorney. You're given an order to proceed with the prosecution of an individual. You do so. You execute it in a professional and legal way. What happened in this case is if it happened to be a January 6th insurrection mobster, you can be dismissed from the Department of Justice under President Trump. Think about what that says about our Department of Justice. Mr. Bovee was the ringleader in an effort to punish these prosecutors. And in his memo, he wrote that the prosecutions of January 6 offenders were, quote, a grave national injustice that's been perpetrated upon the American people. Not the conduct of the mobsters, the conduct of the Department of Justice attorneys who held these insurrectionists responsible for the damage that they did to our Capitol building and the threats to our government. These individuals desecrated our Capitol. Every member of this panel, virtually every member, some are new, every member of this panel who's been here for any period of time will never forget that day as long as they live. I respect this Capitol building as more than just a building. It is a symbol of who in the hell we are. And when these mobsters ran through it, rifled through our desk, posed for pictures, brought in Confederate flags, that was a sad moment in the history of the United States. You would never know it if you listen to Mr. Bovee's recounting of what he believes happened. He has called this a grave national injustice that they would be held accountable for attacking police. Each of you walked into this hearing room today confident that you were safe and secure. And you know why? Because that gentleman sitting in the back of the room is risking his life to make sure that happens. And 100 plus did so on January 6th. Are we to take these policemen for granted? I think that's awful. These individuals